We are doing the grade 12 November from 2019's paper, the CAT paper, the Computer Application Technology, paper 1, the practical exam, and we are on question 5, which is the database or access question. So with the database question, there are obviously 4 parts to it. There's the table part, the query part, the forms part, and the report part. Those are the 4 main parts. So the first part, we'll obviously be dealing with the table. So we want the table. I've opened up the database table. Edit the TBL info table. Make sure that you open the correct table, because sometimes there could be multiple tables. Don't just click on the first one. So, info table. So I'm going to double click on that's the one that we want to work with. And what do they want me to do? Move the primary key from the code field to the survey number field. So the primary key, let's go look at the design view. If you want to go to design view, we want to move it from the code. So I'm going to click on the code and take off the primary key. And we want the survey number to now be the primary key. So there we go. Okay, so that's number 5.1.1. 5.1.2, move the name field so that it appears after the surname field. Now this is very important. Do not cut and paste. You can't cut and paste. You're just going to click on it and drag it to the other side of the surname field. Okay, you could have also done it over here on the field if you save. You could have also done it there and just dragged it, but do not cut and paste whole fields. It won't work. Okay, please remember that. Then 5.1.3, create an input mask on the code field to ensure that the user inserts a code required. Study the data in the code field to determine the input mask. That's sneaky. They want us to determine it. So they want us for the code field. Do they say anything? Code allocated. So let's look at the data. So there's the code. It's quite weird. There's some funny letters at the end there. Huh? Funny letters. So there's always a letter at the front. There's always one compulsory letter. There you can see. Then there are a bunch of numbers. There's always 4 numbers from what I can see. Always 4 numbers. And then there is in the 5th block, it could be a number, it could be a letter, it could be blank, or it could be a funny character. Okay. So does everyone see that? I see that seems to be following the trend. So there's always a letter and then 4 numbers and then some random thing at the end. So let's go to the design view. So the code, we want to input an input mask. Over here, we want to do input mask. Now, if you remember your exam paper, you've got a lovely input mask right at the bottom. We should have there we go. So we want a compulsory letter. So that's the L. So that's easy. So we want to put an L there. And then we want 4 numbers, 4 digits. There we go. That's 0. So we're then going to put 0, 0, 0, 0. And then we want a random character, but it's optional. It doesn't have to be there. So there's any character or space. There we go. That's the one we're looking at. It's not just a letter or a digit. It could be anything. It could be like a funny character, but it's not always there, so it's optional. So I think it's going to be the C that we're going to put. So we're going to put a C over there. And the other thing I want us to have a look at, if you remember, all of it was capitals. It was always capital letters. Did you notice that? So that means we must have the characters must be converted to uppercase. So I'm going to put a greater than sign in front of all the text to make that input mask for the code. Okay, so that seems to be the right way. Yeah, it's always capital letters. Okay, so I think that's the input mask. Okay, for 5.1.4, a validation rule has been set for the date in. We must do an appropriate validation text. Okay, so they've already done the rule. That's nice of them. So date in, so it must be bigger than that date, and it must be so it's between those 2 dates. So my validation text is going to say something about it must be between the 31st of December 2017 and the 10th of October 2019. I think that's as long as we refer to the dates, I think we're fine, and we say that it's somewhere between that. Okay, I think that's okay. So that's our text. So that's the text that will be displayed if they violate that rule. That was quite easy. 5.1.5, the days must contain a calculation that attempts to determine the number of days a tourist spent correct the calculation so that the days are not negative. Oh, there's a calculation in the table. 5. Correct the calculation so the days are not negative. So let's go to days. So the day in minus the day out. Maybe it's because it's the other way around. Let's have a look. So that is working on the day in, the day out. So if I look, yes, save everything. Day in is an early date, day out is a later date. So you always take the later date minus the earlier date if you want to work out. See, they're all negative. So let's go. So days in, it should be the day out because that's the bigger number. So day out, and we're going to minus day in. I think that's a bit better. So let's have a look. It should give us the same value, but it'll just be positive numbers. There we go. So there we go. That works fine. So when you're subtracting dates, always have the bigger date. The bigger date is the later date. Change the format of will return to a true false. Will return. Where's will return? There we go. Will return. Change it to a true false. So that's none of the options there. Ooh, it might be one of the formats. Let's see there. Ooh, there's a true false. We'll make a true false. There we go. So when we look at it, it says true false for will return. There we go. It's still tick, but it's still true false. That's fine. So it changes the format to a true false. There we go. That's all. Let's save it. And let's move on to the next part of the question, which is not this table. Open the form based on TBL info in the design view and do the following. So let's go open that form. So form 5.2, there's the form. And we're going to open it in design view. Right click design view. While it's doing that, let's go look at the question. Add your examination number to the form header. Now, I don't have an examination number, but the form header, there is a form header there. Yes, the form header, yes. Add your examination number. That's just normal text, not a text box, but just normal text, so a label. So I will put your examination number here. So your examination number. Okay, so you put it in the footer. There we go. Okay, so you obviously put your exam number there, whatever it is. And then ensure that the date in field does not display a date picker in the form view. That does not display a date picker in form view. So the date in, when I click on it, now I don't know what that means. Let's right click and go look at the properties. And let's go look at these properties over here. Something about date. Oh, there's show date picker for dates. Never. So let's say never. So it doesn't show for dates. There we go. So there we go. Insert a comma box to display the traveler types. So those types are coming from the other table options, and link the combo box. So there's a traveler type field, must link, and ignore the text in the label. So we're going to ignore the text in the label, but use the options in the TBL options table. So there is an options table. I don't know what's in it. If it's okay, there's just that. That's fine. So we must insert insert a combo box. So we're going to go here to our form design, and there's our options. One of them is that looks like a combo box. There we go, combo box. So I'm going to put it over there, and let's follow the the wizard that pops up. There's my Harry Potter. So do we want to get values from another table? Yes, we do. We want to get it from another table because it's from that table there. Yeah, I'll go next. We want it from that table. Thank you. Yes, there's only one field, so we'll take that field. Thank you. They didn't say anything about ascending or descending order, but it must be in the traveler type. That's key. So when we get to, yes, that's fine. There we go. So we don't want to use it later. We want to store it now in the traveler type field. There we go. That's the key. If you see the word unbound, then you know you haven't done it properly, because if it says it must be linked to another field, it cannot say unbound. It must say linked to that. So when I go next, you'll see that'll change to the actual one. What label do you want? They said we must ignore the text in the label. So I'm just going to ignore it. Okay, and finish. There we go. So you see it says traveler type. Doesn't say unbound. If it said unbound, that means it's not linked to something. So there we go. I think that was done. 7 marks, all for that. That's amazing. So there we go. I think we did all those. Do not display. Oh, wait, we haven't done this one. Do not display the page header and the page footer. So there's the page header. There's the page footer. I'm just going to right click on it and see what happens. Let's click on that, see what happens. Oh, there we go. Then they're gone. So the page header and page footer has disappeared. So you can right click and that's how you can get it back or remove it. Okay, there we go. I think that's done. So let's save that. We can close the form, and then we've done with forms, hopefully. Now, 5.3, we're going to do some queries. Open 5.3 in design view. So we're going to go 5.3. Let's go there and open in design view. Modify it so that it displays only ratings of 5. Now the key here is you need to know what the data looks like. So this is all based off of TBL info. So I'm just going to open up ratings of 5. So that is a normal number field. So ratings, the criteria is it must be a 5 because we only want ratings of 5. And let's just view it to see that we've only got ratings of 5. That works. And group the query on the average estimated amount field. The average estimated amount. So we want to group it on that. So we want to include the estimated amount and we want to group it. So grouping means we must click here on totals so we can group it. So we want to group it on that one there. So I think we need to move that over there to the front, I think, just to be sure. So group the query on the average of the estimated amount. Ooh, I'm actually going to move that back actually because we want to change it. So we put the total on, but we want this to be the average. There we go. We've got the average and let's have a look. Let's run it and see what it does. So we've got the average of the estimated amount. There we go. Oh, they're quite big. What do they say about it? Ensure that the amounts is displayed to 2 decimal places. So ensure that it's displayed to 2 decimal places. So let's have a look. So we want to right click on that prop. Let's go back to design view. Right click on this one and go to properties, which we've got over there. It had their name as long. And we want to format them to 2 decimal places. Now, if you change it to 2 decimal places, you must remember that you need to change the format to fixed. But this is money, so I'm actually going to change it to currency. But the moment you change decimal places, you must at least change the format. It must be at least fixed, but in this case, currency will work as well. Let's run it now. There we go. That looks a little bit better. So that's the average estimate amount for the 5 ratings on budget, the 5 for luxury, and the 5 for standard. That's basically what we've got here. Remember to save. Let's save, and then we can close that query. I think we're done with that query. Open Q54. So we're going to right click on that one in design view. What do they want here? Display the records of the tourists. The code starts with the letter S and ends with the number 0. So that means the code starts with an S. Then we don't care what's in the middle. It can be anything. So I'm going to put a star and it ends with a 0. So S at the front, star means anything in between, and then a 0. Now when I click away, it'll put the like. So let's just double check. Are all of those starting with S's? Are all those ending with zeros? Yes, that's working. And then reaction has anything other than unmoved. So we don't want unmoved. So if you look there are a couple of unmoved. So the reaction must not be unmoved. So we don't want. So we want it to not equal to. Shine bright like a diamond is not equal to unmoved. Not unmoved. So if we run it, there's no unmoved. And I think that's all. Yes, that's that whole query. Display. There we go. That's all done. Boom. So we're going to save this and close that one. Okay, query 55. Let's open it. It's already been done. So we're going to open query 55, design view. Display only female tourists. So how do we know that they are female? The female tourists, let's look for, is there a gender field? Gender is the word female. So there we go. So in my query, we want the gender to only be the word. That's why you need to know what the data looks like. If it was an M or an F, then you need to know if it's an M or F, or if it's the whole word male or the whole word female. So let's look. Have we got all the females? Yes, we do. You see how I test it as I make each change? Because if a mistake happens, then I know it's happened with just the recent one that I've changed. Modify the reaction field in the query to become a calculated field called code letter. So the modified field. Okay, so we'll just go add it there. I think there is no modified field. Okay, modify the reaction field. So modify the reaction field. So take this one away. We don't want this one. We want this one to be a calculated field called code. This should display only the first character of the reaction. The first character. Now, if you know your Excel, you would have done like functions like left and right. They're very similar to Access as well. So equals the left. We want to copy from the left of the reaction field. So that would be square bracket reaction. And then comma, how many characters to the left do you want to copy? Just 1. So copy, let's make it bigger so you can see what the formula is. So equals left of the reaction field. It is spelled reaction. There we go. I put in square brackets, comma, one field. So let's look what it looks like. There we go. And we want that to say code letter. I think that's it. Code letter. So I'm going to change that XPR1 code letter. Now, if there was a space in code letter, we'd have to put square brackets around it. So there we go. So it says code letter and all the code letters. There we go. And that's fine. And display only the name and surname fields and the calculated field. So display only the name and the surname and the code, but not the gender. So we're going to just take the show off there. Boom. And let's run it. There we go. We've got all of them and we don't have the gender field displayed. And make sure to save and we can close that one. I think we're done with the queries. Are we done with the queries? Yes, we're done with the queries. Now, 5.6. This is the last one. Open the report. So we've got the report already. So I'm going to right click and go to design view of the report. You probably don't need the table open anymore. So we want to remove the estimate amount grouping. So there's the estimate amount grouping. So that estimate amount grouping, I'm just going to click on that to delete it. Yes, delete that grouping. Thank you. Insert a function in the traveler type group footer to determine the total estimated amount per traveler type. So we want the total estimated amount. So that's the estimated amount. That sounds like a sum of them, but it's for each traveler type. So it must be according to each group. So this is going to be in the traveler type group footer. So traveler type, I've got a traveler type header. I don't have a footer. So if I click on group and I click on more, I can say with a footer, not without a footer. So that way I can get the footer for the traveler type, and we're going to insert a text box. So we can put a formula in here, and this formula is going to equal to the sum of which field of the estimated amount. Make sure you spell it exactly like it is in the database so that it recognizes it. So it must be exactly like that. I'll put it in square brackets in case there's spaces in it, but it should be fine like that. Do they say anything about the insert a function? I'm just going to, they don't say add a suitable label for the function. Oh, there they do say it there. Suitable label for the function. So I'm going to say the total per type. I'm just going to type that in and let's see what that does. This is the traveler type budget. And that's the total amount for all the budgets, and then the total amount for all the luxury and so on, estimated. I think that's right. That looks right. And then change the font of the estimated amount field to italics. So is it the field or the estimated amount field? So that's the field over there. That field must be changed to italics. So if we come home, there's the options there. I'm going to make it italics. There we go. I think it's just that. There we go. I think that's done. Oh, that was a long question, but I think we did it. Should we save everything and we can close everything? And that is the database question. Click on that subscribe button and share us with your friends so that we can help them as well. Click on the playlist to find other topics that could be useful for your other exams and other topics. And don't do it the long way. Do it the Mr. Long way.